I never intended for Erase the Filter to have seasons, and in fact, I don't think I ever publicly identified seasons for the podcast. Each time I've taken a break and then started up the show again, I intended to just keep doing it indefinitely, but then the inevitable breaks would come. And once again, I'm at a break point. If none of this means anything to you, now would be a good time to stop listening to what's going to be a long-winded, moderately relevant explanation of how this podcast has organically structured itself. But before you go, let me just say thank you for checking out the show. And if you do enjoy it, please stay subscribed. And at some point in the not-too-distant future, new shows will appear in your podcast app. Okay, now you may go. For those of you still here, thanks for hanging out with me for just a little bit longer. So the beginning of Erase the Filter was in 2018 when I was looking to do a more creative sound collage podcast that complemented my interest in experimental music and art. I was having conversations with artists about their work, having collaborators submit readings, and conduct their own interviews with interesting artists. It was definitely a podcast that I enjoyed listening to, but after 6 episodes, I realized that I struggled to get away from the journalistic approach I had established with my long-running arts-based interview podcast called Around the Wood Stove back in the early teens. I didn't have the time or capacity for this format, so I took a break, which ended up lasting the entire year of 2019. Well, I ended up calling those first 6 episodes Season 1. At the beginning of 2020, ironically, in hindsight, I decided to bring the show back for my self-proclaimed year of rhythm, committing to making 1 show each month and committing to moving away from the magazine format of promoting other artists and turning inward to my original goal of creating essentially an audio journal inspired by the zine culture of the 1980s and 1990s. The show turned into a monthly audio collage of old recordings, new conversations, monolog, and original music and field recordings. I was off to a great start, but by May of 2020, after 5 episodes, I was already so fatigued from everything that was going on, I decided to press pause once again. And those 5 episodes became Season 2. After a 16-month break and desire to get back into audio production and really start flexing my creative muscles again, I decided to start things back up to celebrate my 50th birthday in September of 2021. I felt like the 7 episodes that followed really captured the spirit of what I've been trying to accomplish with this podcast from the beginning. But alas, here I am again at a stopping point where life stuff has bubbled up to a point where my capacity is limited and I'm just not able to spend the time that I would like putting together these podcasts. I have a ton of ideas, but also have a few other itches that I need to scratch, particularly with making music and with writing. So it seemed like the right time to take a break, focus on some other things, and to call episode 18 the end of Season 3. In a recent conversation with a friend about podcasting, we talked about the idea of making a finite number of shows to cover a certain topic or theme, and not producing in an ongoing, infinite, episodic way. I think that Erase the Filter is organically moving that direction. So during this intermission, I'm going to think about the various themes I've been interested in exploring, and maybe I will move the show toward more intentional seasons with an established theme, a beginning, a middle, and an end. We'll see. In the meantime, thank you for coming along with me on this journey. I'm assuming that if you're hearing these words, you have found some value in what I've created with this podcast, and that is very, very much appreciated. Stay subscribed to the show. New stuff will appear someday. And if you'd like to keep up with the other creative things I'm doing, I'm using my Instagram feed to publish little bits and links to my creative pursuits. You can find me over there at Jason_Mundock, and I'll continue posting at erasethefilter.com. See you soon.